In the year 1842, a British clockmaker of considerable reputation named John Murray filed a formal patent for a mechanical innovation he designated as the atmospheric engine. The technical diagrams accompanying the application depicted a sophisticated machine designed to extract kinetic energy from subtle fluctuations in barometric air pressure. On the surface, such a proposal might not have seemed particularly revolutionary for the mid-19th century. Atmospheric engines were already a staple of the era's industrial landscape. Steam engines, pneumatic transmission systems, and various pressure-driven mechanisms were well integrated into the burgeoning Victorian infrastructure and were, for the most part, scientifically understood. However, the narrative surrounding Murray's invention took a profound turn when a team of physicists and historians at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology undertook a forensic examination of the original patent documents in 2019. Utilizing modern computational modeling and thermodynamic analysis, they uncovered a mathematical anomaly that defied conventional explanation. The energy output calculations meticulously recorded in Murray's personal laboratory notes exceeded the energy input by a staggering factor of 7. This was not a minor discrepancy attributable to measurement error or a rounding oversight. It represented a 7-fold surplus of energy. If the device functioned precisely as Murray described, it would constitute a direct violation of the first law of thermodynamics, the principle of the conservation of energy, which stands as the most fundamental cornerstone of modern physics. The mystery deepens when one considers the historical record of the engine's practical application. Research into industrial archives reveals that at least 3 independent textile factories in the Lancashire region reported the purchase and successful operation of these specific Murray engines between 1843 and 1847. Surviving factory ledgers from this period contain clear payment records for the units, and daily production logs explicitly reference the Murray atmospheric drive by name. Most tellingly, internal output reports from these facilities indicate a significant and sudden increase in manufacturing productivity following the installation of Murray's devices. Yet, in the summer of 1847, the trail goes cold with chilling precision. Every extant record of the engines suddenly vanished. Not merely the physical machines, which might have been scrapped for parts, but the entire administrative paper trail. Purchase orders, maintenance schedules, and even specific sections of factory ledgers that detailed the operational costs of the engines were systematically excised. It appears that an organized effort was made to scrub the historical record of Murray's contribution. This instance is far from an isolated anomaly. Buried within the patent archives of Europe and North America are dozens of pre-1850 technological designs that challenge our contemporary understanding of the physical world. Machines that theoretically should not function, yet appeared, operated with high efficiency, and then were erased from the collective memory without a satisfactory explanation. As one delves deeper into these archives, the evidence suggests a hidden layer of history characterized by lost technology and suppressed innovation. This exploration into the Tartaria timeline and the artifacts of the pre-reset era reveals a world far more complex than the one described in standard textbooks. The first specific device that warrants a rigorous re-examination is the Hutchinson voltaic pile, which was patented in Edinburgh in 1823. To a modern observer, the device appears to be a standard iteration of an early battery, consisting of alternating plates of zinc and copper separated by layers of cloth saturated with an acidic electrolyte solution. This is the basic architecture of the voltaic pile that every physics student encounters in their introductory studies. However, David Hutchinson's specific configuration produced electrical readings that his contemporaries regarded as impossibly high. His patent documentation asserted that the device could sustain the operation of an intense carbon arc lamp for 6 continuous months without the necessity of replacing or replenishing the electrolyte solution. In the context of 1823, such a claim should have been dismissed as a fraudulent fantasy. Standard voltaic piles of that period were notoriously inefficient, typically lasting only a few days or perhaps 2 weeks under the most optimal conditions and with rigorous maintenance. The Royal Society of Edinburgh, an institution not known for its credulity, conducted a series of formal tests on Hutchinson's pile in 1824. The official report, which remains preserved in their historical archives, confirmed that the apparatus performed exactly as the inventor claimed. The Society's researchers measured the voltage output daily for 43 consecutive days before eventually terminating the experiment, not because of a failure in the device, but because the readings remained stubbornly constant, showing no signs of the expected chemical degradation or voltage drop. The mystery took a tragic turn when Hutchinson died unexpectedly in 1826. Within 3 days of his funeral, his personal workshop was completely razed by a fire of unknown origin, destroying every working prototype and his primary research journals. While the patent office copy of his design was preserved, modern attempts to replicate the Hutchinson pile using his exact specifications have yielded only a standard battery with no extraordinary properties. The Royal Society's documented results prove the device was functional, yet the specific secret of its longevity died with its creator. Our second investigation leads us to Boston in 1831, where Charles Grafton, a man primarily known as a sailmaker with no formal scientific training, filed a patent for a device he titled the Perpetual Motion Ship's Compass. The terminology alone is enough to trigger skepticism in any scientifically literate individual, as the concept of perpetual motion is fundamentally at odds with the laws of thermodynamics. Grafton's compass utilized a highly unconventional design, featuring a magnetized needle suspended within a complex gimbal system that incorporated counterweight vials filled with refined mercury, which were reportedly sealed under a specific atmospheric pressure. According to the patent, this unique configuration allowed the compass to self-level and self-correct with zero external energy input, maintaining absolute directional accuracy regardless of a vessel's pitch or roll in heavy seas. The United States Navy took a keen interest in the invention, purchasing 12 of these compasses for their Atlantic fleet in 1832. These were not acquired as experimental curiosities, but as vital navigation equipment for the nation's premier warships. Operational logs from the USS Constitution, the USS Constellation, and the USS United States contain numerous references to the Grafton compasses, with captains and navigators reporting that the devices performed flawlessly. Unlike standard compasses, which required frequent recalibration and were prone to significant drift during inclement weather, Grafton's design remained remarkably stable. One particularly vivid entry in a captain's log describes a 3-day gale off Cape Hatteras, during which the Grafton compass remained perfectly true, while every other navigational instrument on board failed or became unreliable. Despite this success, the Navy issued a quiet recall of every Grafton unit in 1839, ordering their immediate destruction. The official justification cited the devices as being rendered obsolete by new British designs, but this explanation fails to withstand scrutiny. British compasses of the 1840s, while high in quality, did not possess the self-correcting capabilities of the Grafton units. A historian at the Naval Academy later uncovered a confidential letter from the Secretary of the Navy dated 1838, expressing deep concern regarding the unorthodox operational principles of the Grafton devices, and recommending their removal from service pending a classified investigation. The results of that inquiry were never made public. Grafton himself relocated to Mexico in 1840, where he died shortly thereafter under circumstances that local authorities deemed highly suspicious. Moving across the Atlantic to France, we encounter the work of Henri Chevalier, a Parisian engineer who, in 1844, patented a pneumatic refrigeration apparatus. This device was designed to cool air to near freezing temperatures solely through the manipulation of atmospheric pressure, without the use of chemical refrigerants, ice, or external power sources. The patent illustrations reveal a cabinet-sized machine containing an intricate network of valves, pistons, and what Chevalier described as pressure differential chambers. His mathematical models suggested that the device could maintain an internal temperature of 0 degrees Celsius, even when the surrounding ambient temperature was as high as 30 degrees. In 1845, the French Academy of Sciences conducted a rigorous evaluation of Chevalier's refrigerator. Their subsequent report confirmed the device's efficacy, documenting internal temperatures of 2 degrees Celsius in a test environment held at 28 degrees. The apparatus ran continuously for a period of 6 weeks without any loss of cooling capacity. The Academy's committee, comprised of some of the most respected scientists in France, concluded that the machine operated on principles that were not yet fully understood by contemporary physics and formally recommended further investigation. However, the proposed studies were never initiated. Chevalier struggled to secure commercial investment for his invention, largely because potential backers found the lack of a traditional fuel source or cooling agent to be incomprehensible. In the 1840s, the field of thermodynamics was in its infancy. While Sadi Carnot had published his foundational work on heat engines, the science of refrigeration was virtually non-existent. Chevalier died in 1851 in a state of poverty and obscurity. His workshop was liquidated at auction, and the pneumatic refrigerator was sold to an anonymous buyer, after which it vanished from the historical record. Modern engineers who have analyzed the patent drawings argue that the device should not work, as the level of manufacturing precision required for such pressure differentials would have been impossible in the mid-19th century. Yet the documented evidence from the French Academy remains an inconvenient reality. The fourth device on our list takes us to the intellectual center of the Austrian Empire, Vienna, in 1837. Johann Kravagl, a highly skilled optician, patented a self-illuminating lens system. The design consisted of a series of meticulously ground glass lenses arranged in a specific non-linear geometric configuration. Kravagl claimed that this arrangement could amplify ambient light to such a degree that an observer could see objects clearly in conditions of near total darkness. While this sounds like a precursor to modern night vision technology, it is important to remember that contemporary night vision relies on electronic image intensifiers or infrared sensors. Kravagl's system was entirely passive and optical, requiring no electricity or chemical enhancers. He asserted that the lenses were shaped according to advanced mathematical principles regarding the propagation of light waves that he had discovered through years of private study. The Austrian imperial military conducted extensive field tests of Kravagl's lenses in 1838. These were not merely subjective observations. The military established controlled experiments in sealed, darkened chambers, where light levels were precisely measured using the best instruments of the day. The results were startlingly consistent. Soldiers using Kravagl's optics were able to read printed documents and identify distant targets in light levels where unaided human eyes saw only pitch blackness. Impressed by the tactical advantages, the military ordered 200 units for immediate deployment. However, the project was abruptly terminated in 1841. Kravagl's workshop was raided by imperial agents on the bizarre and clearly fabricated charge of occult practices. During the raid, all of his prototypes, specialized grinding equipment, and research notes were confiscated. Although Kravagl was released after 3 days, his livelihood was destroyed, and he died in a workhouse in 1843. Modern optical engineers who have attempted to reconstruct the lenses based on the surviving patent specifications have failed to achieve anything close to the performance levels reported by the Austrian military. Some theorists suggest that Kravagl may have inadvertently discovered principles related to what we now call metamaterials, or photonic crystals, while others speculate that the glass itself may have been infused with rare earth elements whose optical properties were unknown to the wider scientific community of the 1830s. Continuing our survey of lost innovations, we look at the 1829 patent of Ezekiel Porter, an American inventor from Philadelphia. Porter, a trained millwright with a deep understanding of conventional hydraulic power, developed what he called a motive water device. His design featured a compact machine, approximately 3 feet in diameter, containing an intricate series of internal channels and resonant chambers. Porter claimed that water flowing through these specific geometries would generate harmonic oscillations that significantly amplified the mechanical force delivered to the output shaft. He estimated that his device could produce 10 times the rotational power of a standard water wheel of equivalent size, given the same volume of water flow. In 1830, the Franklin Institute in Philadelphia, one of the most prestigious scientific organizations in the United States, conducted a series of tests on Porter's machine. Their detailed report confirmed that the device was indeed remarkably efficient, measuring an output nearly 4 times that of a conventional wheel. The researchers noted that the water flow within the device produced a distinct harmonic hum and unusual vibratory patterns that they were unable to explain using the fluid dynamics of the era. Porter successfully installed several of these units in textile mills across Pennsylvania and Massachusetts, where they operated efficiently for several years. However, the narrative took a dark turn in 1833 when a Porter device installed at a mill in Lowell, Massachusetts, exploded with catastrophic force. The blast killed 3 workers and caused significant structural damage to the mill building. The subsequent investigation blamed the explosion on the unpredictable nature of the resonant chambers, suggesting that they created pressure spikes that exceeded the structural integrity of the cast iron housing. Porter's company was forced into bankruptcy by the ensuing lawsuits, and a court order mandated the destruction of all remaining devices. The anomaly here is that traditional water-powered systems do not explode. They may leak or suffer mechanical failure, but they do not detonate. The sheer energy released in the Lowell incident suggests that Porter's harmonic oscillations may have been tapping into a source of energy far more potent than simple hydraulic pressure. Modern researchers in chaos theory and nonlinear dynamics have noted that Porter's geometric ratios bear a striking resemblance to patterns found in complex resonant systems that were not formally studied until the late 20th century. The 6th device brings us to Berlin in 1848, where a master clockmaker named Friedrich Steinmetz patented an atmospheric chronometer. Steinmetz claimed to have created a timepiece that required no manual winding, no weights, and no springs. It was purportedly powered entirely by minute fluctuations in environmental temperature and barometric pressure. While the concept of an Atmos clock is familiar to us today, having been commercialized in the 1920s, Steinmetz's version was far more advanced. He claimed his chronometer would maintain its accuracy to within 1 second per month, a level of precision that was virtually impossible in 1848. Even the most expensive marine chronometers of the day were expected to drift by several seconds every 24 hours. The Prussian Academy of Sciences subjected Steinmetz's clock to an 8-month period of continuous observation in a controlled environment. Daily measurements against astronomical standards confirmed that the clock not only functioned without any external winding, but also maintained the extraordinary accuracy Steinmetz had promised. The Academy's report noted that the internal mechanism was of such high complexity that its operational logic remained obscure even after a thorough visual inspection. As the Prussian government began negotiations to acquire the technology for military and naval use, Steinmetz was found dead in his workshop in 1850. Despite his family's insistence that he was in robust health, the official cause of death was recorded as heart failure. His workshop was thoroughly ransacked, and the prototype chronometer was never recovered. The surviving patent drawings are conspicuously incomplete, missing the critical details of the core energy harvesting mechanism. Modern horologists suggest that Steinmetz may have utilized advanced principles of differential thermal expansion, or perhaps a sophisticated form of micro-pneumatics that predated modern engineering by nearly a century. In 1846, a blacksmith in rural England named Thomas Arkwright patented a magnetic separation engine. While magnetic separation was a known process in the mid-19th century, Arkwright's design was uniquely efficient. He claimed his device utilized a specific arrangement of permanent magnets that could extract microscopic iron particles from ore continuously, without the magnets ever losing their field strength. At the time, industrial magnets were prone to rapid degradation and required frequent recharging. Arkwright's patent suggested a self-sustaining magnetic circuit. The Royal Society conducted a 3-month trial of the engine at a Sheffield ironworks in 1847, confirming that the device outperformed all existing methods and showed no measurable loss in magnetic potency. They also documented a persistent low-frequency hum emanating from the machine during operation. Arkwright was in the process of licensing his technology to major mining conglomerates when he was killed in a suspicious industrial accident in his own shop. His family claimed the equipment that crushed him had been tampered with, but no formal investigation was ever opened. Interestingly, Arkwright's magnet configurations bear a remarkable similarity to what are now known as Halbach arrays, a magnetic geometry first described in the scientific literature in 1980. If Arkwright had indeed discovered this principle in 1846, it would explain the unprecedented efficiency of his separation engine. Perhaps the most controversial entry on our list is the vital force diagnostic machine, patented in London in 1825 by Dr. Marcus Holloway. Holloway, a physician, claimed his device could measure the bioelectric potential of the human body to diagnose internal pathologies before physical symptoms became manifest. This was an era when the medical community was deeply divided over the nature of animal electricity. Holloway's machine consisted of a series of metallic contact points connected to a sensitive needle gauge via an undisclosed internal mechanism. In 1826, the London Medical Society, a group of staunchly traditional physicians, tested the device, fully expecting to expose Holloway as a fraud. To their astonishment, the machine demonstrated a high degree of diagnostic accuracy. In a series of double-blind tests, the device correctly identified the health status of 23 out of 27 patients. The examiners were unable to explain the mechanism, but could not deny the results. Holloway's successful practice was cut short in 1829 when he was arrested on the archaic charge of witchcraft. The trial was a sensationalist farce, and Holloway was sentenced to prison, where he died of a mysterious fever within 2 months. His diagnostic machine was confiscated by the state and vanished. Modern medical historians speculate that Holloway may have been an early pioneer of bioelectrical impedance analysis or galvanic skin response, technologies that would not be formally integrated into medicine for another 100 years. The ninth device is the harmonic calculation engine, patented in 1843 by the Parisian mathematician Louis Beaumont. Unlike the mechanical calculators of Pascal or Babbage, Beaumont's engine operated on an entirely different principle: acoustic resonance. He claimed that mathematical equations could be translated into specific sound frequencies, processed through a series of tuned mechanical resonators, and then converted back into numerical solutions. The French Academy of Sciences tested the device and found that it could solve complex polynomial and differential equations with a speed that far exceeded human capability. The Academy's report noted that the machine seemed to exploit natural harmonic relationships inherent in the structure of mathematics. Beaumont's laboratory was destroyed in a fire in 1847, and he died in poverty 2 years later. His work represents a lost branch of analog computing that utilized the physics of sound rather than the logic of gears or electrons. Finally, we consider the gravitational differential engine, patented in 1847 by the Irish engineer Patrick O'Donnell. This mechanical device was designed to measure infinitesimal variations in the Earth's gravitational field, allowing for the detection of subsurface water, minerals, and geological voids. The Royal Irish Academy verified the device's accuracy in 1848, witnessing its successful identification of hidden aquifers. O'Donnell emigrated to America in 1849 to escape the Great Famine, taking his invention with him. Upon his arrival in New York in 1850, he disappeared completely, and his groundbreaking gravitational engine was never seen again. Modern gravimeters capable of such precision were not developed until the mid-20th century, leaving the source of O'Donnell's 19th century success a profound mystery. When we synthesize these 10 accounts, a disturbing pattern emerges. We are presented with 10 distinct devices verified by the most prestigious scientific bodies of the 19th century, all of which demonstrated capabilities that defy our current understanding of history and physics. In each case, the technology was lost, the records were suppressed, and the inventors met with untimely or suspicious ends. This suggests that the narrative of steady, linear technological progress is a convenient fiction. Instead, we see evidence of a reset, a deliberate effort to prune certain branches of human knowledge. These devices appear to be remnants of a more advanced understanding of the natural world, perhaps inherited from a global civilization that preceded our own. The systematic erasure of these innovations from the patent archives and historical ledgers points to an organized suppression of any technology that threatened the established order or revealed the true potential of the pre-reset world. The evidence is there for those willing to look, in the dusty archives, the forgotten patents, and the silent testimony of machines that once worked until they were made to vanish. The study of these artifacts is not merely a hobby, it is a necessary effort to reclaim a lost heritage and understand the forces that have shaped our perceived reality. By examining these anomalies, we begin to see the cracks in the official history and the outlines of a world that was taken from us. The patent archives remain, the documents are real, and the truth of these impossible machines continues to haunt the edges of our scientific consensus, waiting to be rediscovered by those who refuse to accept the sanitized version of our past.